Light rain fell on the glass headquarters of a leading tech corporation that morning, on the 40th floor. Tension filled the conference room. Brilliant engineers argued around a blueprint showing critical errors. A strategic server worth $100 million had crashed. Time was money, and every passing minute burned thousands of dollars. While the best minds hit a dead end, a janitor pushed his cleaning cart down the hallway, accidentally overhearing technical conversations. He stopped, knocked gently on the door. "Excuse me, I think I know where the problem is." Meet Jack Turner, 35 years old, single father, working the night cleaning shift at Orion Systems Corporation. But Jack wasn't always pushing a mop. 5 years ago, he was a lead aerospace systems engineer. He designed navigation systems for military aircraft, the kind where a single miscalculation could cost lives. Jack was brilliant at his job. He held multiple patents and led teams of dozens. Then, life changed everything. His wife, Sarah, was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer. Jack took family leave to care for her and their 3-year-old son, Max. Sarah fought hard for 18 months, but the cancer won. Jack faced a choice: return to his demanding engineering career and put Max in full-time daycare, or find work that let him be the father Max needed. He chose Max. Now Jack works nights cleaning offices so he can walk Max to school every morning and pick him up every afternoon. It's humble work, but it pays the bills and keeps them together. Jack keeps his engineering background secret. He doesn't want pity or awkward questions about why he threw away his career. To his co-workers, he's just another guy with a mop who shows up on time and does his job quietly. Meanwhile, 40 floors above Jack's cleaning closet, CEO Evelyn Cross faces the biggest crisis of her career. Evelyn built Orion Systems from a small software company into a tech giant. She's known for being brilliant, demanding, and absolutely ruthless when it comes to performance. Some call her cold. She calls it focused. This morning, everything she's worked for hangs in the balance. Orion's new AI server system, a $100 million piece of cutting-edge technology, has crashed completely. It was supposed to be demonstrated to government contractors in 3 hours, a deal that could secure Orion's future for the next decade. The server controls advanced AI calculations for national defense projects. It's not just expensive, it's revolutionary. But something went wrong during the final startup sequence. The system locked itself down and won't respond to any commands. Evelyn has her best engineers working the problem. PhDs from MIT and Stanford, people who've solved impossible technical challenges before. For 3 hours, they've tried everything: rebooting, diagnostic scans, emergency protocols. Nothing works. The government contractors will arrive soon if Orion can't demonstrate a working system. The deal dies. Competitors are circling like sharks, ready to swoop in. Evelyn watches the clock tick down and feels her company's future slipping away. She has no idea that the solution to her $100 million problem is currently mopping the floor one hallway away, listening to her engineers debate technical details that sound very familiar to someone who once designed life or death systems for fighter jets. And if you believe a father's love can rewrite any story, join us, subscribe, and be part of the place where single dads are never alone. Jack pushes his cleaning cart past the conference room where Evelyn's team works frantically. Through the glass walls, he can see charts, diagrams, and frustrated faces. He's not trying to eavesdrop. But engineers speak loudly when they're stressed. The thermal sensors are giving inconsistent readings, one voice says. Could be a pressure differential in the cooling system. Another replies, "We've checked that 3 times already. The primary cooling loop is fine." Jack stops walking. Those words trigger memories from his aerospace days. Fighter jet electronics face similar problems, heat buildup causing sensor failures that crash entire navigation systems. He knows this problem. He's solved it before. Jack hesitates in the hallway. Should he say something? He's just the janitor. These are brilliant people with advanced degrees. Who is he to suggest solutions? But as he listens longer, he realizes they're missing something obvious: the backup thermal sensor. In military systems, when the primary sensors fail, you don't just check the main cooling, you isolate the backup sensors that might be sending false data. Jack makes a decision that will change everything. He knocks gently on the conference room door. A project manager opens it, looking annoyed. "This is a secure meeting. What do you need?" "I'm sorry to interrupt," Jack says calmly, "but I think I know what's causing your problem." The manager looks at Jack's uniform with obvious irritation. "This is a classified technical discussion. You need to leave." But Evelyn Cross hears the exchange. Something in Jack's tone, confident but not arrogant, makes her look up from the diagrams. "What did you just say?" she asks. Jack steps into the doorway, staying respectful but clear. "Your thermal sensors, I think your backup sensor is sending false pressure readings, causing the system to think it's overheating when it's not." The lead engineer scoffs. "We've run full diagnostics on all sensors." "But have you isolated the backup thermal sensor in the secondary cooling circuit?" Jack asks. "Sometimes it gets confused during startup if there's even a tiny pressure difference between the primary and backup systems." The room goes quiet. Jack points to the diagnostic screen visible from the doorway. "See that reading there? 0.78 psi difference? In aerospace, we learned that anything over 0.75 will cause the backup sensor to panic and send shutdown signals to protect the system." Evelyn stares at him. "How do you know about aerospace protocols?" Jack doesn't answer directly. "If I'm right, you need to bypass that backup sensor temporarily, reset the thermal circuit manually, and use only the primary cooling loop until you can recalibrate." The lead engineer looks skeptical but desperate. "That's actually not a terrible theory." "Try it," Evelyn says suddenly. "We've got nothing to lose at this point." The engineer works at his terminal, following Jack's suggestions. He isolates the backup thermal sensor, resets the thermal management circuit, switches to primary cooling only. Then he hits the restart sequence for 30 seconds. Nothing happens. The room holds its breath. Then, one by one, system lights begin turning green. Cooling stabilizes. Processors come online. The massive AI server hums back to life. "Oh my God," someone whispers. "It's working." The main display shows all systems operational. A $100 million crisis solved in less than 5 minutes. Everyone turns to stare at Jack, still standing in the doorway in his janitor uniform. Evelyn rises from her chair slowly and walks toward him. Her expression is unreadable, part shock, part curiosity, part something else entirely. "Who are you?" she asks quietly. Jack gives a small smile. "Someone who used to work on systems where a small mistake could cost lives. So I learned to pay attention to details." The room remains dead silent as the CEO of a billion-dollar company tries to process that her janitor just saved her most important deal. And Jack Turner just revealed that there's much more to him than anyone ever imagined. After the crisis ends, Evelyn invites Jack to stay for a formal debrief, but Jack politely declines the executive lunch meeting. "I need to pick up my son from school," he says simply. Evelyn watches him gather his cleaning supplies and leave like nothing extraordinary just happened. That afternoon, curiosity drives Evelyn to have her assistant pull Jack's employment file. What she discovers shocks her more than his technical solution. Jack Turner, former lead systems engineer for aerospace defense contractor Lockheed Martin, 12 patents in thermal management systems, led the team that designed navigation cooling for the F-35 fighter program. Employment gap: 3 years. Reason for leaving: personal circumstances. Current position: night shift janitor. No technical references listed. Emergency contact: Max Turner, age 8, son. The pieces fall into place. Jack didn't just stumble into engineering knowledge. He sacrificed a brilliant career for something more important. The next morning, Evelyn makes an unprecedented decision. She personally delivers a formal job offer to Jack. She finds him at a small elementary school, waiting outside with other parents for dismissal. "Mr. Turner," she says, approaching carefully, "I'd like to offer you a position as senior systems engineer. The salary is $200,000 annually, plus benefits." Jack looks surprised but thoughtful. "That's generous, Ms. Cross, but I have to consider my son's schedule." What if we offered flexible hours? Core meetings only. Work from home when possible. Before Jack can answer, a small boy with messy brown hair runs toward them. Dad! Dad! Guess what happened in science class today? This is Max, 8 years old, backpack bouncing, eyes bright with excitement. We learned about computer processors. Mrs. Johnson said they get really hot and need special cooling systems, just like cars. Jack smiles, ruffling his son's hair. That's pretty cool, buddy. Max notices Evelyn and becomes shy, hiding slightly behind his father. Max, this is Ms. Cross. She works at the building where Dad cleans. Evelyn kneels down to Max's level. Your dad helped solve a very important problem today. He's very smart. Max beams with pride. Dad knows everything about computers. He used to build stuff for airplanes before Mommy got sick. The innocent words hang in the air. Evelyn realizes the full weight of Jack's sacrifice. That evening, Jack discusses the job offer with Max over dinner. Would this mean you don't have to clean offices anymore? Max asks. It would mean I'd work with computers and machines again, like I used to. Max practically bounces in his chair. That's so cool. You could build more airplane stuff. But I'd have to work some days. Regular hours. You might need after-school care sometimes. Max considers this seriously. Would you be happier? The question catches Jack off guard. What do you mean? Sometimes when you think I'm not looking, you seem sad, like you miss building things. Jack realizes his 8-year-old son sees more than he thought. I'd be happy doing work I love again, Jack admits, but I'm happiest being your dad. Then do both, Max says with simple 8-year-old logic. The next week, Jack accepts Evelyn's offer with one condition. His past engineering experience stays private. He doesn't want his new colleagues to feel like the janitorial staff showed them up. Evelyn agrees, respecting his humility. But during Jack's first team meeting, she makes an unexpected announcement to the entire company. I want to tell you about something remarkable that happened last week. Our $100 million system failed, and our best engineers couldn't fix it. Then someone who doesn't wear a suit, doesn't have a fancy title, solved it in 5 minutes. She looks directly at Jack. This man reminded me that brilliance isn't about degrees or job titles. It's about paying attention, staying curious, and being brave enough to speak up when you can help. The room erupts in applause as Evelyn introduces Jack as their new senior systems engineer. After the meeting, several engineers approach Jack with genuine respect and curiosity about his approach. Max visits the office later that week, eyes wide at the massive computers and blinking servers. Dad, is this where you saved the $100 million machine? Jack chuckles. We saved it together, buddy. This is our new beginning. As they walk through the halls where Jack once pushed a cleaning cart, he realizes something profound. Sometimes going backward is the only way to move forward. And sometimes the most important problems we solve aren't technical at all. After Evelyn's company announcement, everything changes. Colleagues who once barely noticed Jack now approach him with genuine interest. Engineers want to hear his perspective on projects. The security guards wave and call him by name instead of looking through him. But the most meaningful change happens in the break room. The janitor who replaced Jack's night shift, Maria Santos, sits alone during her lunch break. Other employees walk past without acknowledgement. Jack notices. He sits down across from her. Mind if I join you? He asks. Maria looks surprised. You're the famous engineer everyone's talking about. I'm someone who knows what it's like to clean these floors, Jack replies. And I know good work when I see it. This place has never looked better. From that day forward, Jack makes it a point to acknowledge every custodial worker, security guard, and maintenance person he encounters. His behavior influences others. The invisible staff becomes visible. Max settles beautifully into his new routine. After school, he does homework in Jack's office, surrounded by computers and engineering diagrams. The other engineers adopt him as an unofficial mascot. Mr. Turner's son has some serious questions about processor architecture, one colleague tells Jack with amusement. He gets that curiosity from his mother, Jack replies, smiling at the memory. 3 months later, Jack presents his first major system design to the board. It's a revolutionary cooling system that could save the company millions in operational costs. Evelyn watches him explain complex thermal dynamics with clarity and passion. She thinks about how close they came to losing this brilliance simply because they couldn't see past a uniform. After the presentation, she pulls Jack aside. "I learned something important from you," she says. "I thought leadership meant surrounding myself with impressive resumes and advanced degrees. But real talent doesn't always come with the right credentials." Jack nods. "The best engineers I knew in aerospace came from unexpected places. Night school students, military mechanics, people who learned by necessity rather than textbooks." "How do we make sure we don't miss the next Jack Turner?" Evelyn asks. "Start paying attention to solutions instead of just qualifications," Jack suggests. "Good ideas don't care about job titles." That evening, Jack and Max build a computer cooling system model for Max's science fair project. Max chatters excitedly about thermal dynamics and airflow patterns. "Dad, do you miss cleaning the offices?" Max asks unexpectedly. Jack considers this. "I miss the quiet time to think, but I don't miss feeling invisible." "You were never invisible to me," Max says matter-of-factly. Jack pulls his son into a hug, realizing that Max's opinion was the only one that ever truly mattered. Looking around their small apartment, now with engineering textbooks scattered alongside Max's schoolwork, Jack feels something he hasn't experienced in years. Not just employment, but purpose. Not just survival, but growth. And most importantly, the knowledge that he's showing Max that talent and character matter more than titles or appearances. Some lessons are worth waiting years to teach. "I wasn't looking for recognition. I saw a problem and knew I could fix it. The military taught me that skills exist to serve, not to show off. But that day, I learned something new. Sometimes speaking up is how you protect your child's future too. People ask if I regret leaving engineering for janitorial work. I don't. Those years taught me that every job has dignity, and real worth comes from doing whatever you do with excellence. Max often tells his friends, "My dad saved a giant computer." I just smile and keep working, still humble, still watching details. If you've ever been underestimated but proved your value anyway, this story belongs to you too. Subscribe to hear more stories like this, because talent doesn't wear a uniform. It just shows up when it's needed most.